Step 1 is brushing the ball. Step 2 is sending it forward. The combined motion is a snap-in, snap-out action. That's how you generate speed. Are any of you finding that while your serve has improved, it still feels like it's missing something? Let me tell you why. It's because your serves are too heavily concentrated on your opponent's backhand. How often do you serve to the middle or down the line? If you don't vary your placement, your serve won't be effective. Simply put, you're not serving enough to the middle and down the line. If you serve down the line once, your next serve back to the backhand will be much more effective. So today, let's focus on serving to different placements. First, we'll cover serving to the middle. Generally, the backswing for a middle serve and a cross-court serve looks identical. The key difference to note is that for a cross-court serve, you can bring your racket further back. However, for a middle serve, you can't have too deep a backswing, or you won't be able to direct the ball to the middle, it will only go wide. The second difference is the location of the first bounce on your side of the table. This is the first bounce for a cross-court serve, and this is for a serve down the middle line. Notice the difference. The key difference in the first bounce is that while both are near the end line, their lateral positions are shifted. When I serve cross-court, the ball is slightly in front of me. When I serve to the middle, the ball's position is further back, closer to my body. For example, if I brush the ball here for a cross-court serve, the contact point for a middle serve must be closer to my body, and even closer for a down-the-line serve. So, to serve down the line, the contact point must be very close to your body. You may even need to pull in your stomach to execute it correctly, because the closer the contact, the sharper the change in direction. Second point. A critical aspect of serving to the middle is the racket angle. If my racket face is angled like this, the serve will naturally go cross-court. Let me ask you all, to control placement, should you aim with the tip, the bottom half, or the top half of your racket? That's right, you aim with the tip of the racket. When the racket tip points cross-court, the ball goes cross-court. When the racket tip points to the middle, the ball goes to the middle. When the racket tip points down the line, the ball goes down the line. If it points to the short corner, it goes short. If you use your arm to change direction, your opponent will read the down-the-line serve. But if you use the racket tip, I can serve down the line with minimal motion. Therefore, the tip of the racket determines your serve's placement. Third point, why is a middle serve hard to return? Because the spin makes it curve, forcing your opponent to adjust their footwork. If your opponent has a strong forehand, should you serve to their middle with left or right side spin? You should use left side spin, because the ball will curve into their body, forcing a large adjustment to attack it. They have to move significantly to create space to loop the ball. Against a player who uses their backhand for middle balls, you should serve with more right side spin, hook serve, because as they step in, the ball fades away, making it difficult to generate power. So during a match, test whether your opponent favors forehand or backhand for middle balls. Then choose your left or right side spin accordingly to control their attack. Now, if I'm standing ready, what is the target for a bodyline serve? Imagine I'm your opponent. Where exactly is my middle? When serving left side spin, your target should be the opponent's right leg, for a right-hander. Because after the first bounce, the ball will curve right into their body. See? It jams them right in the midsection. If your first bounce is aimed at their armpit, the ball will curve further, and they might abandon their forehand and switch to backhand. So, for left side spin, you must aim for the opponent's right thigh. For right side spin, you must aim for the tip of their playing elbow. This spot right here is the perfect jam serve with right side spin. And this spot is the perfect jam serve with left side spin. The middle isn't the center line, nor is it a fixed point like the elbow or leg. It depends entirely on whether you're using left or right side spin. If you serve right side spin to their thigh, they might just attack it with their forehand, making it ineffective. You must force them into an awkward position while making them use their intended stroke. That is a true bodyline jam serve. Fourth point, regarding middle serves, my father taught me a very effective concept. He said, if serving deep to the backhand requires 100% power, then serving to the middle should only require about 80% power. What's the hardest serve to return? It's the speed of a serve to the middle. Speed is absolutely the most important factor. I'll serve 2 balls now. Tell me which has more spin and which has more speed. First one. Second one. Which of these 2 serves had more spin? Correct, the second serve had more spin, and as a result, its speed was significantly lower. So, if you prioritize spin, you sacrifice speed, and if you prioritize speed, you sacrifice spin. The purpose of a middle serve is to disrupt your opponent. A super spinny underspin might not fool them, but a fast serve might catch them off guard. Therefore, I believe your middle serve should prioritize speed, with spin being secondary. The faster the serve, the slower their footwork, and the more likely they are to make an error. So how do we generate speed? First, and most importantly, stay relaxed. The more relaxed your backswing, the faster the ball will accelerate forward. Second, what is the fastest serve in the game? A rush serve. Why is it fast? Because it's pure impact. There is almost no energy wasted on brushing the ball. For amateur players, if you want to serve faster, there are 2 underlying reasons for how to do it. First, it's because the motion is more forward than downward. This immediately increases the ball speed. Typically, our motion is like lifting to the 5th floor and smashing down to the 1st. Instead, I might start from the 2nd or 3rd floor and propel the ball directly forward and slightly down. This makes the serve fast. To make the serve even faster, we need to reduce the downward force from our backswing and increase the forward propulsion. Instead of starting high, I start lower and drive forward. This generates speed. Your swing must be back to front. See how that ball still has spin? A professional's backswing might look large, but the actual contact window when the racket meets the ball is very small and precise. The second key is the follow-through. Many players are afraid to really send the ball forward with their follow-through. Let me emphasize, this follow-through is extremely important. Within a single motion, if you want both spin and speed, you have to compromise. It's like a loop, after you brush the ball, you have to drive through it. So, in the first phase, after you've brushed the ball to create spin, you must then follow through to propel it forward. Look how the serve is both spinny and fast. How is that achieved? In the first phase, your brushing motion needs braking and acceleration. Second phase, why do you often serve long? Because your first bounce isn't consistently controlled near your own end line. If your first bounce is too far forward, watch what happens when I add a follow-through. If I use even a little bit of force, it will go long. Because the first bounce is too far from the end line. As a result, you're forced to hold back your power. Observe how far your serves go out. It's usually just a few inches past the table, not flying way off. This is directly related to your first bounce. If you strictly control the first bounce to be within this zone near the end line, you'll be able to serve with more confidence and power. The second point is that after brushing the ball, you need to push it sideways forward, not just straight forward. It's a sideways forward motion, it feels just like serving a reverse pendulum. Step 1 is brushing the ball. Step 2 is sending it forward. The combined motion is a snap-in, snap-out action. Snap in, snap out. See? That's how you generate speed. So why are you afraid to follow through? First, your first bounce is too far forward. Second, you're using your whole arm to generate force, which is uncontrollable. You aren't using your fingers and wrist. You must use your fingers and wrist. This snap-in, snap-out motion must be dominated by the fingers and wrist as the primary power source. It's not about the arm. If you rely on your arm, you won't get enough spin or speed. The action must come from the fingers and wrist. Therefore, to serve both fast and sharp, you must utilize a two-part motion. A single motion focused only on speed will reduce spin, while one focused only on spin will reduce speed. While such serves may land, they are inferior to one that combines both motions for stronger rotation. Okay, those are the main points for the middle serve. Next, let's discuss the down-the-line serve. I use the down-the-line serve frequently in my matches. If you don't establish a threat down the line, all of your service rallies will start from the backhand side, which is a fatal flaw for players with a weaker backhand. So, for penhold players and anyone who relies on their forehand attack, you must open up the forehand side of the table. Most amateur players get stuck in cross-court rallies. If you only serve to their backhand or middle, their first return will almost always go to your backhand. Often, at the start of a match at 0-0, I'll serve down the line. Most opponents aren't ready for it, and I can steal a point. During the match, I'll mix in sidespin topspin or sidespin underspin serves down the line to let my opponent know they can't mindlessly step around to attack. It also prevents them from planting their feet too firmly on the backhand side to loop. This serve might put me slightly on the defensive, but I still need to move him around strategically. So, how can we serve better down the line? The first key point is our center of gravity. To execute any down-the-line serve effectively, your body cannot be too far from the table. Serving from this far back will not work well. Additionally, many players put their weight on their right leg, which is a common mistake. You should put your weight on your left leg and keep your body close to the table, which is permitted by the rules. The second, as I mentioned, is to tuck in your stomach when serving down the line. The first bounce for a cross-court serve is here. But for down the line, it must be close to the body, right around here. The first bounce for a down-the-line serve must be very close to your body. Every time I serve down the line, I consciously tuck my stomach in, because the more I do, the straighter the serve goes. Third, where's the contact point for a down-the-line serve? It's here. If I make contact here, my body is in the way. Contacting the ball here will only send it towards the middle. By making contact near your left hip, you can serve the ball very straight down the line. Let me stand straight to show you. Contact for cross-court is here. Contact for down the line is here. This allows me to get the serve extremely straight. So, your brushing point for a down-the-line serve must be at your left hip. This is how I can get more spin on the ball. Down the line. Brush the ball at your left hip, generating force from your navel towards your left hip. Only then can you serve it straight, otherwise, it's impossible. Thirdly, to make your down-the-line serve deceptive and sudden, you cannot give your opponent any tells. Right now, many amateur players telegraph this serve by rotating their body as they serve. If you rotate as you serve, your opponent will see it coming immediately. Therefore, when serving, do not rotate your torso or your waist. Watch, toss the ball, but keep your body still. This makes the serve incredibly sudden. Your opponent sees no body movement and will feel like they have no time to react. The moment you rotate your body and show your racket face, your opponent can read that you're serving down the line. My main rivals when I was younger were left-handed, so I developed a very strong down-the-line serve. One more point, for a down-the-line serve, you must control your power. The path of a down-the-line serve is shorter. If a cross-court serve uses 100% power, and a middle serve uses 80%, then a down-the-line serve should only use 60 to 70% of your power. If you use 100% power, then 80%, then try to use the same power down the line, it will go out. By using 60% power, you can generate the necessary spin to keep it on the table. This applies to rallies as well. Why are so many players afraid to hit down the line? Because it's very easy to miss long. This is because you haven't adjusted your power level. How do we adjust our power level on the serve? For instance, when serving down the line, how can I ensure it lands on the table while still having enough spin? It comes down to the duration of your motion's follow-through. Look, this is cross-court, and this is down the line. You see? I stopped the motion much sooner. Using the same power, a long follow-through for cross-court, a short one for down the line. See how it landed? When you want to serve down the line, stop your motion earlier, and the ball will land on the table. To put it another way, if a cross-court serve takes 0.8 seconds to complete, a down-the-line serve should only take 0.6 seconds. When you serve, do you aim at the net? First, when I serve cross-court, I aim for this white line on the net. Why do I aim there? Firstly, aiming at the net helps me control the trajectory. For example, even without looking at the other side, I know the trajectory of this serve will be very low. That comes from practice. When we were young, we were always taught to aim for the white tape. As our coach used to say, a net court is a good serve. The closer your serve passes over the net, the lower its trajectory, and the harder it is for your opponent to return. If your serve clears the net by this much, the second bounce will only be higher. This is your initial trajectory. After it lands, the second bounce's trajectory will always be higher than the trajectory over the net. When I serve, if I want to go cross-court, I aim here. If I want to serve to the middle, I aim here. For down the line, I aim here. If you aim at the correct spot on the net for a cross-court serve, it will go there. However, for a middle serve, if you aim for the center of the net, the ball will end up going wide, not truly to the middle. Therefore, for a middle serve, you must aim for the net tape slightly to your own backhand side. Only then will your left side spin serve land in the correct spot. If you aim for the exact center of the net, the ball will land too far to their backhand, and they can just loop it easily. Third, for the down-the-line serve, if you aim your body straight, the ball will still end up going towards the middle. So, to serve very straight, you must aim for a point on the net that is perfectly straight ahead, which ensures the ball lands in the correct spot. So for all my down-the-line serves, I am aiming at the spot on the net where my phone is now, instead of this spot. Watch me serve one. This is how I can get it so straight. I have a habit in matches, I always look at the net height first. Before I decide what to serve, I don't look at my opponent's face. I use my peripheral vision for them. But as I pick up the ball, I always glance at the net. Then I prepare. When I want to serve down the line, I can guarantee it will land in the spot. The reason is that on my initial forward motion, I am aiming for that line, for my phone's position on the net. Not just serving blindly down the line. As a result, the ball's final placement is almost exactly where I planned it to be, making it very accurate.